Demonic Angel. Today's tarot card is the Page of Swords. And the Page of Swords, he's standing on fertile ground there's birds up in the sky, but it looks like there's a storm coming. And he's kind of, the clouds and the birds are going, again, with the wind, and he's sort of going against it. So he's very sure of himself, narcissistic, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that's what is going to help him along on his journey here. So it is like, this is a guy so sure of himself, and he looks like he's he's ready to strike. But if you look at the bottom, his bottom posture, where he's very standing, very relaxed. This is not a battle pose, like this is I'm comfortable and relaxed. So he's just, it's almost like he's all talk and no action. He might do this thing, he might do that, just whichever way he feels. But once he gets this idea in his mind, this belief, he's going to really stick with it, even if logic and reason point to his way, his opinion, relationship just being completely detrimental. This guy is really just listening to some huge part of his ego. Sometimes it can really be a good part of the ego, the drive, the flame of curiosity, the hunger, the perpetual hunger that drives us all in continuing to search for meaning, no matter what. So, but he's not completely just ideas. He's also, look how beautiful the earth is. He's just standing on beautiful, fertile ground. So he does have good things going for him, like resources, some family connection, some relationship. He already has a lot to be thankful for. And because he does the Page of Swords, because he does just listen to his inner voice the most, that really does make it so that a lot of his ideas are unique, are just fascinating, just drawing people in. Because when you tune other people out and you do focus on your own ego, you're really going to be able to analyze your own thoughts more. And it's kind of like everybody's like, I really don't know what to think or what to believe, or and everybody does understand that, can relate to that feeling. But at the same time, whatever the subject, a lot of people feel that need to just find the answer that feels right to them, and be let yourself be vulnerable to just believing that you are worth things, that you are smart, that hey, your idea, your thought, it has a power. It's beautiful. If you like it, don't just play with it a little bit, embrace it and share it with others. And that is really the spirit of our Page of Swords. That the positive sense of this. Some people even say that this looks like a woman, and it really does not matter, because it's just a young person. And the suit of swords, obviously, is all about thinking and your thoughts. It does look like, I mean, look at that big sword, you know, it extends beyond the picture. So your thoughts can get heavy if you're not, you know, you can't stand there all day with a sword and you're holding this massive sword that goes over your head. It's going to become too much to carry. You can't just be ready to stand in a battle pose forever. So there's going to be this time for action pretty soon. And, you know, upright, this page will understand what needs to be done next through his thinking. So because this is thinking, and, you know, this is a page, his thoughts that he is playing around with that kind of youthful experimentation of picking and choosing, you know, beliefs and who he's going to be, what he wants to do, his true will, right? Then he'll be able to, that will help him weather the storm of the Suit of Swords. Although the Suit of Swords is absolutely beautiful, there's nothing wrong. There's no right and wrong cards, so, you know, I'd like to remind y'all, the Suit of Swords does have that imagery of heaviness and the destructive potential power of our thoughts. So this is a reminder here early with the Page of Swords that the things that you think are dictating your habits, subconsciously the way you treat people, and you need to take time in your life to examine your thoughts. So the thoughts that you choose to harbor, that you choose to speak to yourself, they're really having an immense power in your life, because thoughts always have to manifest outwardly as emotions. Thoughts, feelings, they rise. Consciousness rises. So when, you know, that primal part of you, the subconscious part of you, feels a certain way, I mean, you know, you don't really choose it so much. You do choose it and alter it by crafting which habits you'll have in your life. But your thoughts are going to manifest outwardly. Maybe it will affect your mood, might affect your perception of an individual. So the way that you can nip it in the bud and take control a little bit is say, oh wow, I've got this thought and I don't agree with that. It's really not what I want. I'd like to change it. I'd like to energetically get away from that. Insert different thoughts. You could just as well say, wow, I'm thinking that again, and you do a certain other activity, takes your attention away from it, and that's really some masterful crafting of the ego in that kind of a situation, because it's very profound to realize how much our thoughts do dictate so much, like our feelings and our emotions. So, you know, it's another public service announcement from Tarot. Don't just spend all day on the internet. And even if you do, you know, read some things, and it doesn't matter what. I'm not talking about read memes. Actually read. Fill your mind with good things, with interesting things, with productive things, and you will be a happier person for it, because it's all going to come out in some way. And that's what the Suit of Swords reminds us, especially Ace of Swords, Page of Swords, Knight of Swords. That's just this, hey, here's a reminder all the way, here in the beginning, here to remind you of this again. It's just, as we move from the base energy, now we have the idea, and then, then we start to get into the action. Anyway, we'll do reversed. The reversed, the Page of Swords is kind of some of the ideas I mentioned earlier, which are, carrying thoughts. You're choosing to be attached to thoughts that don't serve you any purpose, but you think that, like, it's all manageable, it's all fine, but it's really not. It's consuming some of, your attention and your energy. So, in addition to all the regular stuff that you have to do, now you have to pay attention to whatever kind of addictive, habit forming, whatever is feeding your dopamine, through just a thought, through like a fantasy. This can really be fantasy that is just time consuming, like people who are addicted to pornography, that it's just the thought that is just all consuming and very heavy. And now this, more than likely, whatever that heavy thought is, that heaviness, you have to kind of conceal that away from everybody else in your life. And it gets really heavy, it's going to have to come out in some way. Page of Swords can also just be, some guy who's just all talk and really thinks that he's right, or woman, doesn't matter, thinks that they're right no matter what. They're not able to be receptive at all to what other people are saying to them, especially in this case, older people, because he's very young. So older people, they can't really, they're like, it goes in one ear and out the other for this kid. Not listening to practical advice, just really trying to deceive people with just your charisma in some way. Like anything where it's like, hey, I'll borrow some money from you. And it's just this person would be able to craft a really good speech about why they need money. And then they're never going to pay that back. But at that moment where they're asked for it, they were just given this big speech out. Well, it's like, that was just air. Swords cutting through the air. It was just an idea. It was all talk. It was done for deception, and it did what a sword does, and it cuts. So any kind of, reversed, it's just any kind of idea of possible deception, carrying a heavy burden, most usually in the form of harboring bad thoughts and bad habits that become too, difficult for the person, and it taxes their energy. So yeah, that would, and you look at the surrounding cards, I mean, that always really helps us with the rest of the story. So, that all depends on what is around the Page of Swords. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll talk to you later.